All right, it's 9:02. I'll call the meeting to order. You could mute your cell phones. And Becky, will you call roll?
Sure. Jack Scrogstad.
Here.
Dean Friel.
Here.
Katie White. Ron Gascoigne. Reed Acree.
Here.
Ellie Hess.
Here.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have any guests here? We do have a guest today. He used to sit in our meetings quite a bit. We do have his reports, still bringing them to us for us to take a look at. Greg Gates, have you got anything that you would like to say in the public forum? How's things going in your neck of the woods?
Mr. Gates, please keep it to 5 minutes.
Start the clock now, please. The only thing that I would probably first of all say is that, yes, things are going fine with Reagan Mass Transit District, and the transition has gone smoothly. We will be bringing, I think, a presentation to the county board next week. As I think I've said in previous presentations, we've been doing feasibility studies both here in Dixon and also in Rochelle, and RLS and Associates who've been providing that consultation are getting really close to their final report. And I think it would be of interest to this county board, as well as the city council here in Dixon is also going to receive a very similar type of report as to the findings of whether or not it would be feasible to create a fixed route system here in the city of Dixon and also in the city of Rochelle. So I believe that presentation is next Thursday as part of the county board meeting. That's all I would have unless there's any questions.
All right. Any questions? All right. Thank you. And thank you for coming today. Okay. Any other visitors? See anybody? Nobody on Zoom. Okay. Attached is the minutes. Has there been any changes or corrections that need to be made to the minutes? Speak now, ever hold your peace. That's a different thing. Okay. All right. They'll stand as presented. All right. Let's start with our departments. Transportation, Dave Anderson, would you like to walk the committee through your report and the submitted 3 items you have on the agenda?
So you can see, you got the project list there. You can go through that. I did make a mistake on this. I just noted the Wyoming Township HMA is not yet started, so it's not complete. That's an error. So basically, what we're working on now, contract wise, we got a bridge going under construction right now, and then we got probably close to a couple $1 million worth of hot mix asphalt to get done before the end of the year. So then that's all scheduled in and so forth. It's just a matter of getting the contractors there to do the work. So moving on from there, we'll take discussion items first. And the reason that I have this schedule for county bridge replacements on this is for a real particular reason. We're going to be wanting to build replace a bridge on Brooklyn Road just north of 30 next year. And we'll be using federal funds on that. And there's a whole bunch of stuff you got to do when you're using federal funds. And one of those is to put together a project development report. One of the aspects of that report is to discuss the project in a public meeting. So we're here to discuss that. It needs to be replaced, so we're going to replace it. But I thought, well, maybe you want to know why we're replacing it and why that one and not another one and so forth. So just kind of hopefully quickly walk you through that process and line of thinking. So we inspect bridges based on the MBIS system, which is driven by FHWA. And there's a whole process to that and a whole rating system for that. And there's, you got to be trained to do it. And you got to have all the updated training and all this sort of thing. So we do that and we rate certain aspects of the bridge. We rate a lot of different things, but the main thing would be the deck, the superstructure, the substructure, and some other things. So, but based upon those ratings, what happens then is that goes into some kind of a formula that generates what's called a sufficiency rating. And in order to use federal funds to replace a bridge, your sufficiency rating has to be below 50. Okay, so we can have a bridge out there with a 60 sufficiency rating that I think ought to be replaced, but, you know, I can't use federal funds on it till it's below a 50. So in this case, it is below a 50. I think we're sitting at 33.0, yeah, 33 right now on this one. So that kind of kicks it to the top of the list. And so that you kind of know what we do, I'll just hold this up. You won't be able to see any of it, but we keep sort of a cheat sheet. We're required through this MBIS system to keep, you know, all sorts of records in a particular way. But then we developed our own cheat sheet just to know where we're at on bridges, whether they be county or township. And so we got a spreadsheet that looks like this, right? Now you can't see all this, but just so you know that we keep track of something. And we kind of keep track and list, and it's sort of a watch list, if you will, for our own uses. And so why are we doing this one? Well, it has the lowest efficiency rating on the list. Now, that doesn't always correlate into why we should replace it first. We look at other things like ADT, average daily traffic on the road, to make a judgment call there, because there's only so much funding to go around. But right now, I'm looking at my list right on the county bridges. There's only 2 bridges that are below a 50, one's at a 47.1. We'll be entertaining the replacement of that in the coming years. But this one here sits at a 33. So that gives you a little rationale on why we're doing what we're doing. And we do the same thing for township bridges, although we really don't use federal funds on that. We'll use township bridge funds, but it just gives you a rationale why we're doing what we're doing. And I mean, if there were no objections, that just would be so noted in the minutes, and that would suffice for that project development report that I need to put together for the job. Any questions on that at all?
How long do you think the bridge will be, are we closing it down for the whole
Yeah.
time, or?
Yeah, we'll close the road 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
When we start in on it. Yep.
And I might have missed when you said you're going to start the project. When do you think?
Well, we'd like to let the project, I'd like to let it in January. There's only certain letting dates that you can have when you're using the federal funds, because they're let down in Springfield. But we could push it to March and still be okay. The January letting would just hopefully get us an earlier start date in the summer, but it's not completely necessary, but that's the target. And there's a lot of hangups we can encounter between now and then to get that let. So, you know, if it gets pushed back, it gets pushed back a little bit.
Sure.
About how far north of 30 is?
It's just north of 30, like quarter mile.
Oh, okay.
This is the first one north of 30.
Okay.
Yep.
Is it a heavy traveled road? Because
It's not one of our heavier, it's like kind of in the mid-range of, if you look at the ADTs on our roads, it's sort of mid-range there. Yep.
Appreciate you waiting until after harvest. So.
My goal is always to get them done before September 15th. That doesn't always happen, but that's what I shoot for.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, go ahead. If nothing else, I'd just go ahead and mention right now as well, while we're sort of on the topic. We've got some other federal jobs that'll be coming up in the coming years as it relates to hot mix overlay jobs. Well, the one I'm planning on next year would be Perry Road. That's actually a cold in place recycling with a hot mix asphalt overlay. It'd be Perry Road from 251 to Stewart Road, and then we'll take Stewart Road, like say within the village there, to the railroad tracks. We'll do a mill and fill in town there. So that I got planned for 2025 as well. And if I can get the federal money, I would also like to do Inlet Road from Shaw all the way to Sublette, and then take Sublette in through town to 52. And a part of the reason to do that is we do have some funds that we got from the wind farm job that was just done in that area as well, that we will put into that project. So,
Okay. Any other questions?
In terms of board action, I think probably the simplest thing to do on this next, in terms of the IPW man that we talked about last week, I got the agreement and ordinance, off that website and put together. But being that it is an ordinance, I think probably we'll just take everything to next month. In other words, just vote to lay it over, take it to board to then lay it over, being that it's an ordinance, and then, we'll take up the vote in September.
So you're suggesting that the ordinance or the agreement we hold till next month and then do the ordinance now since we got to lay it over?
Well, yeah, you just take the ordinance, if you so choose, take the ordinance, get it on the agenda to lay over.
Okay.
And then we'll do it all in one shot in September. I think that's just a simpler way of doing it.
That's a possibility too.
But being as an ordinance, it requires the month layover.
So, all right. So why don't we do this? Let's, is there a motion to move the ordinance authorizing the execution of the Illinois Public Works Mutual Aid Network agreement to the executive committee to hold over for the August County Board agenda? Reed first it, Ally seconds it. Any comments on that? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The same. As for the actual mutual aid agreement, let's, anyone with a motion to hold this over or to, what's the word I want to say? Table it till next month. So that way it can go on the September's deal.
I'll move to table.
Read motions to table it. Ally seconds it. Any discussion on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. And then the Armesco Lee County Pipeline Project.
Yep, this is just to be the road agreement. We'd like to get voted on this month. Yep.
Okay. So is there a motion to move the Armesco Lee County RNG LLC Pipeline Project Lee County Road Use Agreement to the Executive Committee for inclusion on the August County Board agenda? Dean, thank you. Makes first. Ally seconds it. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same. Motion passed.
And just so you know, I would consider this to be probably fairly minor in terms of what they're doing and the county roads that they'll be impacting, but it is required by pipeline ordinance to have an RUA, so we've got one put together.
All right, great. All right, any more for Dave? Okay, thank you, Dave. And you said something about your collections. You got that's ending coming up, or the computer or the electronic collections?
Yeah, it's still ongoing, and we'll run that into November,
So
basically. So we'll run it.
We got a couple months.
It may extend just a little bit. Say they were almost ready to fill a truck up or something like that, but
right.
kind of November 1st for a shutdown is the target.
It may feel like fall outside, but it's coming up quick.
Yeah. So get them in while you can.
Yep. All right. Okay. Assessor GIS office, Jennifer Boyd.
Good morning. So I just have a monthly update. The annual assessment work that's been done the last month, the 2024 quadrennial townships are being reviewed. That's the quadrennial townships get a complete review once every 4 years. So we've been working on those, including updating the residential and farm building cards. That portion of our review is nearly complete. And then the other portion of our yearly review is reviewing all of the parcels in these townships, reviewing all the township parcels in the county, I'm sorry, for their task list work, things that we've asked the township assessors and field people to report back on. So all of the task list work is starting to be processed now that we're starting to wrap up the quadrennial assessment review. So that's kind of where we're at with our annual assessment work. Other than that, we had property tax appeal board updates that I have for you. The Board of Review for 2024, we had 3 appeals filed, and all 3 of those PTAB cases have the information was submitted to us, and we had a deadline to respond. The Board of Review response had to be done. Those 3, all of them, the deadlines were in July, and we met those response deadlines. So the next step for the Property Tax Appeal Board is they will forward our response on to the taxpayer, the appellants, and they'll have 30 days to submit a rebuttal. So that's kind of where those 3 cases all are at right now. In addition to that, for those are all the current year, the 2024 Property Tax Appeal Board cases. But in addition to that, in the last month, we had hearings for 3 cases that stem from 2018, 2019, and 2020 that had been that had come up for actual hearing. So the administrative law judge, Carol Kerbach, came to the county, and we held the hearings for those 3 cases in July, and we will be awaiting decisions then, and that still can take several months for decisions to be made from there. So that's where that is at. Other than that, the assessment office welcomed a new employee, Carmela Ziegler. So she started in the beginning of August. So our office has been working on training her on our various programs, the tax cycles and exemptions, general assessment information that she'll need to know. She's been doing great picking up all of that new knowledge. Sammy's not able to be here with us today. He's out of the office. He did turn in a report for his monthly report. I want to outline, is mentioned in the GIS report, that the team and I met with an Esri representative, and Esri is who supplies GIS to us, basically. Esri representative earlier this month, and we're discussing tools and solutions to increase our accuracy and efficiency with the GIS services that we provide to the county. Most of these tools can be integrated at no additional cost, and they're just tools that some internal and some that will be external for the website for more efficiency and transparency. The other thing in the GIS office is in the last month, Sammy was able to go to an Esri user conference in San Francisco. I always get that mixed up in my mind, San Diego, San Francisco. Not only did Sammy participate in the multiple workshops and sessions there where he gained knowledge, but he also led a presentation at the conference. So very proud of him for stepping up and leading a presentation on GIS in the assessment office and how it's working for us. In addition to that, one of the Lee County maps, the assessed valuation map, was highlighted during the plenary session where the president of Esri, Jack Dingerman, was making that presentation, and one of our maps was highlighted during that plenary session. So we're really proud of Sammy and Logan in our GIS office for the work that they're doing, and it's being recognized nationwide at that session. So quite an honor, and I'm proud to have Sammy leading our team.
It's really nice hearing that Little Lee County is recognized for the work that we do, in other parts of the county. So yes, it's very awesome to hear. Any questions for Jennifer? All right. Jeremy, County Board.
There is just tons going on all the time.
You always got something going on.
Right now we are continuing to work with departments on the budgets, which has been pretty much taking the entirety of almost my day lately with Reed and Paul. And, we're getting through that right now. We just went through our second budget hearing last week, and we have our final budget hearing, day 3, next week, around the 20th. Yeah, that's next week. And, then we're going to be getting back and to trying to essentially clean up a $1.4 million gap in the budget drafts to where our revenue projections are. So there's a difficult task that lies ahead of our team to make some tough decisions with our department heads to make sure that we have a budget that is going to be passed that will work for the next budget year. There's a couple things that go into that, and it'll probably be a broken record between Reed, Paul, and myself, and finance chair, Sheline, is that our revenue projections are not scaling as they had in the last couple years due to a handful of different things. One in particular is the PPRT revenues that come from the state. So we're trying to take those things into considerations as we're looking, to get through probably 2 budget cycles before we start seeing maybe a higher return in some of the revenues like property tax, sales tax, those types of things that we're projecting in the next 3-year cycle. So just keep that in mind as we're working through this. It's a difficult process. Our goal as the county is to make sure that we're serving our constituents to the best of our ability, that we're having high quality services, and that we have a place of employment where folks really want to work and really enjoy to be here. So that's kind of our goal all around. And with that at the foundation of it all is the budget process. So we're going to get through all that, but that's pretty much where everything is my primary focus right now. We have some exciting things coming down the pike in terms of just future discussions with economic development in the Rochelle area, as well as other parts of the county. I did let all of the board members know, but we did lose our $4.9 million grant through the LaHood's office and the community development or the community project fund. So essentially they had to go through a reassessment of all the applications due to some funding changes. And ours was removed from that pool just for this project year. I know the city of Dixon's received a reduced amount, and a handful of other projects within the district, potentially was lost as well. So good thing is we can apply for that next year. We have a favorable application, and the HUD's office really loved what we brought to the table. So hopefully next year, as the appropriations committee meets again, and we understand what that funding pool looks like, we have a strong chance to get that again. But that was kind of a little bit of a hit as we were continuing to move forward and we will continue to move forward with the Lee County Highway Department's new facility. But we just need to make sure we take that into consideration. We always did, just in case something were to happen with that funding, and how we're going to keep moving forward with that project. And right now it's continuing to move forward with engineering phase 1 and environmentals and all those things, and making sure that we're prepped and ready to go as we look internally through our own funding sources or opportunities, but also other grant options.
Okay. Any questions for Jeremy? All right, thanks, Jeremy. Next, County Clerk Nancy Peterson, would you like to walk us through your report?
Sure. Good morning. Just have a few updates out of the election department downstairs. We're 12 weeks out from November 5th, and we're 6 weeks out from early voting. So we're just really focusing on getting everything in line for that. I also want to let you know that from the radio ad that Jack did, the newspaper, and being at the county fair, we have 4 new election judges. It's better than none, but we have 4. So we're moving forward with that. And then you will all see a little postcard that got mailed out yesterday. And that's just reminding everyone that you can opt in or opt out for permanent vote by mail. If you're not interested in either, then you just set that postcard off to the side. It's a requirement we have to do every year. So those got mailed out yesterday.
So to opt out, just to be clear for everybody, to opt out to get that mail-in vote, they have to contact your office, or they just not contact your office?
Yeah, if you're not interested in any of the vote by mail, permanent vote by mail, also there's going to be a box on that postcard for you to check if you would not like to have any upcoming mailings of the postcard. So that's probably the most important. If you're not interested in vote by mail, but don't want to receive that postcard anymore, you can now check a box, and that will save a lot of mailings and postage. Because as we all know, postage is going nowhere but up.
Okay. I want to probably highlight that, the county board meeting.
Perfect. And like you said, all of
Hopefully-
it's right there on the website too, Jack, for
Oh,
for
okay.
anyone, but, and I know the postcards get a lot of people confused because anyone that has previously permanently opted out will not get that postcard, but then, you know, the neighbor will be getting a postcard, and that's what confuses a lot of people,
Right.
but
Yes.
they're pretty, we've revamped the postcards, so a lot of things are in bold letters, different colors, different boxes, so we're trying to make that as simplified as we can going forward. And that's my report.
All right. Any questions for Nancy? Okay. Move on. IT department, Paul?
Hello, thanks very much. My report this month is a little bit more juicy, I guess, than previous months. I have two incidents that I'd like to comment on and report on. On Thursday, July 18th, 2024, Microsoft experienced an outage in some of its Azure cloud services. You would have seen that because your onboard system failed during the meeting that night, along with some other systems that are hosted in the Microsoft cloud. There was nothing that necessarily that we in IT or in the county could do to mitigate that. We just had to kind of ride through that, and I hope there wasn't a major interruption in your meeting. There were some other services that would have been interrupted a little bit more seriously had it happened during the business day, but it started late in the day, and those interruptions were resolved shortly before midnight on the 18th. But minutes later, literally minutes later, there was another incident. CrowdStrike, a manufacturer of anti-ransomware and security software, issued a security patch update to its Falcon software, which if you follow the news at all on July 19th and the 20th, caused great havoc with those people certain people running Microsoft computers. They couldn't start them up. They got what they call the blue screen of death. And we were affected here because we use CrowdStrike, as CrowdStrike is furnished to us by the State Department of Innovation and Technology at no cost because we have an election authority here. And it's really good software. Unfortunately, they had this hiccup. I discovered the hiccup shortly after 1 a.m. Then a little bit later, about an hour later or so, I called the jail to see how things were going there. And they said they had some computers down with the blue screen. And so I started researching the problem and found out what the very manual fix was. And before I headed into town, tried to kind of come up with a faster patch system, which I did. Then got into town early morning and then started patching the computers at the jail, moved on to new courts. Then Jonathan and Travis helped me out in new courts and old courts. We pretty much had most of the county servers and computers up by 10 a.m. on Friday. Would have been a little bit sooner, but we had another hiccup in our couple of our servers that needed to address. But I want to thank the county board for allowing us to have feet on the ground people in our IT department, Jonathan and Travis, to address these types of things quickly. I think worldwide, a lot of companies were caught kind of flat-footed because they outsourced a lot of their IT and they don't have a lot of real people helping them. They have IT fixing IT problems instead of people fixing IT problems. So we were able to address it very quickly because we had real people to fix the problem. So thank you for that. Thank you for the support of the IT department. So, and the State Department of Innovation and Technology was a little bit surprised about how quickly we were able to bring things up because they were still working with other agencies throughout the state to help bring their systems back online. But for us, the downtime was minimal. We wrapped up a few other computers later Friday and on Monday. So still, the CrowdStrike Falcon software is still some of the best anti-ransomware software out there. The state watches our network, as does the vendor CrowdStrike. So it's like having, another person on my team keeping an eye on our network 365 days a year. And when I didn't hear back from the state or from CrowdStrike, I knew it wasn't a ransomware attack. I knew it was something else. So which confused me for a couple of hours that morning, but I was able to get on it and get a fix in place relatively quickly. And I want to appreciate the patience of particularly the people, all the staff and the departments for allowing us to work through in the order that I wanted to work through, which was the jail, new courts, get the courts up and running, elections, and then everybody else pretty much after that. So, and I just wanted to, again, thank the board for allowing IT department to have the tools to respond to such incidences so quickly. So thank you. And in terms of current projects, well, we have current projects and future projects, but the current things that are keeping us busy, we have about 30 PCs that we're starting to deploy throughout different departments here. So in addition to other ongoing projects, but did anyone have any questions for me?
I was just going to make a comment here. I attended, along with a couple of board members, the Galena conference that took place. I think it's the 24th. It was after that incident, and one of our presentation people started talking about, started giving us an education on ransomware, Trojans, and cybersecurity, blah blah blah, this and that. We got an education, and then I'm sure they were booked months before the CrowdStrike happened, but they were from CrowdStrike. And so they're kind of explaining to us what happened and all this kind of stuff, that it was a human error. And then all of a sudden, I don't know if it was me and another board member, they kind of made a comment, all we need is one rogue employee in a company like that could bring the country down. It scares me, makes me worried. I'm very grateful that we have IT people on hand on the floor as well as you do. But all you got to have is a bad employee, a rogue employee that could do something like that.
And that's correct. And this is why there's some new state laws that I have to comply with. Quarterly, what they call penetration testing, network testing. And the State Department of Innovation Technology, the law doesn't mandate, but they highly suggest it. So do the federal security guidelines, that we have an all encompassing logging system that logs everything that goes. Every time a website gets hit, everybody's logging and we have logs for that. We just don't have that one all encompassing system. And I didn't think we were ready for it because I'm still investigating it. Plus I knew that probably wouldn't, $100,000 ask probably wouldn't go through the budget cycle this year. So I'm trying to come up with alternative solutions for that. But if I come to we have some of the department heads here now, if I say we have to do this because of this, and they'll say why, sometimes it's because of largely it's because of security, and largely because of logging. For example, I just want to attach my device to your network this way. And I said, well, I need to have you be an authorized user so I can log the entry and the exit from it, just so we know who's coming and going. Because as you said, one rogue employee here or one rogue employee, at another vendor could cause great damage. And another thing is, even though CrowdStrike was the primary fault for this error, the Microsoft Windows operating system, at least older, older versions of it, would have thrown up an alert saying, hey, we see that this little piece of software is causing your computer not to start up.
Mhm.
And then not do anything about it, not make any suggestions. I'm kind of like other operating systems would go, well, would you like us to disable it and start in safe mode so you can, take a look at it? But no, Microsoft's system isn't that
Yeah.
smart. And that's a little bit frustrating for IT people when they used to have part of that feature in the past, but they kind of disabled it going forward. I'm just like, what the offending piece of software is. You could let us start up in a safe mode and take a look at it and find out what's causing the problem, but you don't even offer that feature anymore. So while CrowdStrike was the agent, the factor for it, but if Microsoft would kind of reinstate some of its diagnostics, I think worldwide, companies, institutions wouldn't have been able to work through this a whole lot faster. But I appreciate your support, your comments, and the incident number one with the Microsoft Azure was supposedly not related to this problem, and that's also kind of a rare situation. And the CrowdStrike is a rare situation, but it does happen where a vendor issues patches, and sometimes it's Microsoft itself, which will just shut down servers and computers or cripple them, essentially slowing them down so much where you can't really use them and you have to roll back the patches. So matter of fact, after this report, I have to go find out why the public version of our court management system turns off at 6 a.m. in the morning for 5 minutes. So, but any other questions for me? I want to really do thank you for the support that you give for IT. Again, if we didn't have it, we wouldn't have been able to respond as quickly as we did. So thank you. So
Reed?
Paul, I just want to commend you and your team for just getting on top of that so quickly, because that I know in our company we don't have an in-house IT guy. We have a private individual that helps us out a ton, and thank goodness for him too in our company that he's helped us out. But timeliness is huge in a deal like that. So thank you very much.
oh, sure. And part of it is I've put in some tools to monitor systems here that send me text or even emails and the like. And my wife's always like, why is your phone going off at 12 at night, 1 a.m., 2 a.m.? That means I'm not going to have a good Friday. So, but thank you. Thanks very much. I do appreciate that. So,
Jack, can I also say something? I do want to give a shout out to Paul and his team for some of tremendous help they've given my office in the last week or so with some hiccups we had.
Nancy's referring to another incident, which I may report on next week, but I'm still doing some investigation with Microsoft on it, why somebody was able to get past some of their security. So thanks.
All right. Again, thank you, Paul, and your
Thanks.
team. All right. Chris Tennyson, would you like us to walk us through your report?
I did send my report. I know it's a rather lengthy one, so as I always do, I'll let you look through it at your leisure and follow up on some of the things that we're doing. I do want to hit a couple highlights. I think all of you know, because of my background, that school safety is very important to me, and making sure that all of our educators and students go home safe to their families every night is probably the most important thing we can do in education. So in crisis situations, what we've learned is that all of our 24 school districts have very good crisis plans, and they've been trained what to do. God forbid there's an intruder. But we have this concept of what happens after the event's over. If we remember a few years ago in Dixon, when they had their tragedy, it was kind of a mess getting students back to how do you get students back to their parents? How do you get the families reunited? So there's been a lot of work done on that in the last couple of years with these reunification plans. And many of our districts have a plan in place for how that will look and how they'll be able to get the students and staff off site to the reunification site, and then how that will look, working with getting them back to their families that will be there trying to locate their students. So we had a big training for 2 days out at Sauk Valley Community College last month, and it's interesting to note, Sauk is awesome. They love that they're doing this for us. They cooperate with us, but we have 12 of our public school districts now that use Sauk as a reunification site. So we had fire there, EMS there, police there, and we had administrators from those 12 school districts, and it was a 2-day training. The law enforcement, fire, and EMS worked together on how to respond in coordination to an event and get the event under control and stop the aggressor. And then our part as school district leaders was to go ahead and run an actual reunification site drill. So we were all there at Sauk, and the police officers and firefighters, they were very good at this. They played angry parents trying to locate their children. And we ran through 2 full drills, and it was awesome for all of us to learn a little bit about the process. We have the plans, but to actually get to those of you that have done any kind of training know that once you train, you learn. And it was really beneficial to us to learn how things would go, things that we needed to shore up a little bit. But we have administrators now from 12 different school districts trained on how to run that site at Sauk. Myself and Mr. Knuth are trained, and also Sauk sent their administrators. So it's very nice that anytime we have a situation like that, they'll send their administrators down to help also. So God forbid we have any incidents, especially at those 12 schools, we now are trained on how to run that reunification better. And Josh and I will be heading there immediately to assist with that and try and make sure that it goes as seamless as possible. So I wanted to let you know that we did that training, and we'll look to conduct another one too, because I think we still have some other school districts that need to do some additional training with their reunification plans and their sites. On page 2, just keeping you up to date, I've told you several times, we're going to continue to put in for any grants that the state or federal government wants to give us to help our schools. And we do have a couple more that we've been awarded, an after-school grant program that we're just starting to look at to provide some services, and we got a computer science grant. And our Education Pathways Round 5 grant was granted, and we did get our truancy grant again from the State Board of Education, which is important to us. So we've been able to run a really successful truancy program here for years, and every 3 years we do have to re-up for that grant. So we were glad to get those and get re-up for our truancy grant. And we're still waiting to hear about our grant that we get every year for preschool for all and early childhood. As you read in the news, the governor has created a brand new, I call it a level of bureaucracy. I hope it's effective, but a brand new Department of Early Childhood that's going to now oversee that grant. So we'll be interested to see how that's going to roll out, and hopefully the governor's office will continue to fund effective programs like ours that have been doing it for some time. We also just recently did a Workplace Wednesday event. I'm not sure if everyone's aware that we do these, but it's really kind of neat. We open it up to all educators in our 3 counties, and we bring them in and have them meet with businesses, local businesses in the area, to learn more about some of the work we have going with career pathways. And then the educators can learn more about what our businesses need and what they're looking for in their workforce. So there's a short paragraph in there about all the businesses that were involved in that. We had over 20 educators at that event. It was really, really a neat event. Our probably saw in the news, it's back to school time, and we just did our 2 big back to school book pack giveaways. It was packed at our new location a couple of weekends ago, and we were able to distribute backpacks at 2 events, and we had many backpacks, and they were all given out to the public, and we had a lot of families that were grateful that we were able to do that. We also donated 500 outreach bags to the Whiteside County United Way. They have a program called Let's Feed Our Children. So they were able to give out our outreach bags along with the summer meals this summer. And those bags contained a book of personal care items, some math games, some summer fun events for families, and information about trauma and mental health. So it was nice to be able to get that information out to the families that were coming in to get those lunches for the summer. And then jumping through the report. You'll see we have updated information on there on our Nexus program and truancy program. We're excited. Dixon Public Schools has come on board with our Nexus program this year. So we're very excited about that and looking forward to working with them and helping their families out. And then we've had our regional safe school. We've had a little bit of a turnover there. Our principal did leave for a counseling job, wanted to get back into full-time counseling, but we've hired a new principal at our Center for Change, Brett Willie. He's actually a Dixon High School grad. He was one of my students when I was working there, who's now a licensed social worker and is finishing up his principal license. So we're glad to have him on board. We've hired 2 new teachers, a new counselor and a new paraprofessional. We're staffed and fully ready to go. We're We're now up to 56 employees at the office, which I think is just awesome. And we did manage, starting July 1st, to offer health insurance to all of our employees, which we needed to do now that we were over 50. So it was a lot of planning in the year, and I had a committee put together, but we were able to get it done. And school year's here. I'm excited. I'm going over at noon today to do a walkthrough at the new Dempsey Therapeutic Day School, which Dixon Public Schools, I'm sure you heard, bought the Nachusa campus because there's a real need for a therapeutic day school, more therapeutic day schools in our area to handle students with special needs, and they're ready to open. So I have to go do the occupancy inspection with Josh Knuth, and we're heading over there at noon to see their campus and make sure it's ready to go here in the fall. So ready or not, school year's here. I'll take any questions.
Any questions for Chris? Chris, great job as always. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nobody here from veterans? Zoning, planning? Laura, I see you're filling in for Alice today, so you wanna?
I'm Alice for today. Actions coming from the Zoning Board of Appeals, petition number 24P1629 by Richard A. Humphrey Jr. and Brenda D. Humphrey regarding part of Pen 180813100006 located in South Dixon Township. The parcel is currently zoned Ag 1 Rural Agricultural District. Petitioner is requesting a special use permit for the purpose of inventory or material storage outdoor for the purpose of storing of inventory or materials in relation to the operation of a skilled trade special use permit for Midwest Disposal. The ZBA voted unanimously 3-0 to recommend approval of the petition with the following conditions. If the owner sells the business, Midwest Disposal, or the property referred to in petition number 24P1629, the special use permit will become null and void upon sale. Additional screening of the area where the containers are being stored. No more than 15 Packer trucks may be stored outdoors, and the washing of the interiors of the Packer trucks shall not occur at 1556 Red Brick Road, Dixon, Illinois. Actions going to the Zoning Board of Appeals, petition number 24P1630 by Alicia Hall, Brandon Miller, Rianne Miller, Heather Settles, and Willie Shaneberg as owners of a certain real property known as PIN 070233252011, commonly known as 1127 East River Road, Dixon, Illinois, located along East River Road, approximately 925 feet northeast of Stony Point Road and 667 feet southwest of Shop Road in Dixon Township, Lee County, Illinois, filed a petition for special use with the Lee County Zoning Office for the purpose of a private campground. This parcel is currently zoned Ag 1 Rural Agricultural District and is approximately 1.75 acres in size. There are no actions coming from the Planning Commission, and there are no actions going to the Planning Commission. For other actions, on July 29, the County Board and Zoning Office held a public meeting to discuss the county's floodplain ordinance and the county's participation in the National Flood Insurance Program. I did want to mention that we actually were the first ones in the country to use that program that was developed by FEMA. I attended one of the classes I did at the conference. They introduced it, and we were actually the first in the nation to use it. Aaron Conley from IDNR was present to discuss the state's role as well as FEMA's and why Lee County's compliance is so important. Approximately 35 to 45 people were present, including board members. We would like to thank all of those who were able to present. We understand that zoning is a complex topic and that 2 hours was not enough time to cover everything related to the floodplain ordinance. So we would like to emphasize that the zoning office will always make time to educate board members and or members of the public about county policy. We would also like to emphasize that the goal of the zoning office is to work with landowners to achieve compliance. So long as a non-compliant property owner makes reasonable efforts to correct the violations, no fines will be pursued by the zoning office. The zoning office has been contracting with retired Sheriff's Deputy Jared Yater to bring back the junk and junk vehicle program in conjunction with the Sheriff's Department. A copy of Mr. Yater's status report for the month of July is attached here too. To summarize, Mr. Yater is currently working to resolve junk, debris, and junk vehicle violations on 31 properties. He is now able to request junk salvage titles for abandoned vehicles or vehicles with lost title without the involvement of the Sheriff's Department, freeing up valuable time for our deputies. Mr. Yater has overseen the resolution of violations at 5 properties. Mr. Yater and I recently traveled to Nachusa to do a comprehensive check of the town. There are approximately 10 properties in Nachusa that we will be looking to work with the property owners to resolve the violations. It is my understanding that the zoning office used to do an on-site inspection once new construction was staked out, and this was part of the building permit process. Due to limited staffing, that practice fell to the wayside. This practice helps confirm that the information reported on the permit is correct, such as building size, building location, amenities, etc., which helps the assessment office. Not having this initial oversight also leads to property owners getting violation notices a year or years after the violation has occurred, when it is identified through the assessment office. I would like to bring back this practice by expanding on Mr. Yater's duties to include zoning compliance checks as part of the building permit process. A zoning compliance check is nothing more than confirming that what is reported on the building permit is what is constructed. Mr. Yater will conduct his first check when the new construction is staked out. He will return to the property mid-construction to confirm the status of the construction. He will complete his last check once construction has been completed, and a photograph will be taken at that time. The report from the final compliance check and photo will be provided to the assessment office. Mr. Yater is currently performing these duties as part of work with the assessment office. However, it may be a year or years after the permit was issued. In talking with Chief Assessment Officer Jennifer Boyd, she agreed that taking a proactive approach would have benefits to both offices and would be more efficient. County Administrator Jeremy England, Mrs. Boyd, and I will be meeting to further discuss this process. The zoning office has been working with the owner of 511 Willett Avenue in Dixon to correct zoning violations specific to the floodplain. The owner has been diligently working to clear materials from the floodplain that occupy a large portion of the property. We are starting to see visible improvement at the location, and we look forward to continue working with the property owner to complete the corrective action. On July 18, 2023, Stewart Creek Solar Project Phase 1 requested a determination from the zoning administrator as to whether the project would be considered substantially underway. On August 11, 2023, zoning administrator D. Duffy found the project to be substantially underway and validating the special use permit to still be active. As part of that determination, Mrs. Duffy requested biannual updates on the project as it continues to grind through the PGM interconnection process. A copy of their report is attached here too. Stewart Creek Solar is projecting to achieve interconnection by late 2025. So it's Shannon Alice reading it. Lee County Certified Floodplain Manager Laura Mangrum is currently working with 2 communities in Lee County that may be able to capitalize on grant opportunities that could be used to correct or minimize their floodplain and or stormwater management issues. Mrs. Mangrum is helping to educate these communities as to the options that may be available to them and will act as a resource during their application. However, she will not be telling them what to do, nor will she be overseeing their grant application process, as these communities have their own governmental structure. Zoning Board of Appeals Chair Bruce Foster asked me to share a couple of articles with the county board, and they are attached here too. One article discusses the use of agrivoltaics in Southern Illinois, dual use of land to produce agricultural products and solar. The other article discusses the issues surrounding the PGM restructuring. During the month of July 2024, the zoning office processed 47 building permits, and permit fees in the amount of $5,377.40 were collected.
All right. Any questions for Laura? Okay. All right. So we have, there's one petition going to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Petition P 24-P 1630 by Alicia Hall, Brandon Miller, Rand Miller, Heather Settles, William Schonberger, as owners of certain real property known as PIN number 07-02-33-252-011, commonly known as 1127 East River Road, Dixon, Illinois, located along East River Road, approximately 925 feet northeast of Stony Point Road and 667 feet southwest of Shop Road in the Dixon Township, Lee County, Illinois. Filed a petition for special use with the Lee County Zoning Office for the purpose of private campground. The parcel is currently zoned Ag 1, Rural Agricultural District, and is approximately 1.75 acres in size. Is there a motion to move petition 24P 1630 to the Executive Committee for inclusion on the August County Board agenda? Dean Friel firsts it. Allie Huss seconds it. Any discussion on this? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion passed. There is one petition coming from the Zoning Board of Appeals with resolutions. Petition number 24P 1629 by Richard A. Humphrey and Brenda Humphrey regarding part of PIN number 18-08-13-100-006 located in South Dixon Township. The parcel is currently zoned Ag 1 Rural Agricultural District. Petition is requesting a special use permit for the purpose of inventory of material storage outdoor for the purpose of storing or of inventory or materials in relation to the operation of a skilled trade special use permit for Midwest disposal. Is there a motion to move the resolution for petition 24P 1629 to the executive committee for inclusion on a August county board agenda? Dean Friel moves first, Ally seconds it. Any discussion? All those in favor signify saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. There's no petitions going to the planning commission. There's no petitions coming from the planning commission. There's no, I don't have anything under old business. Under new business, we have a board action review for a hearing officer for the zoning petition. Jeremy, you want to talk a little bit on this?
Sure. For the past roughly 2 years, I think there's been conversation between the county board and the zoning office on how to have a more efficient zoning proceeding operation in regard to hearing petitions. And it has been in conversation about moving from the ZBA, the Zoning Board of Appeals, to the zoning officer structure. With that, what we would like to do is have this committee give a recommendation, as it says, in for or in opposition from the shift to Zoning Board of Appeals format to the hearing officer format. There's still much work to be done, as in the creation of code, what that looks like, talking to the other regional counties that have gone to this process before obviously that gets the structure actually gets taken and put into practice. But it does need to start in this committee, at least to have a recommendation one way or the other. Again, there is a couple aspects of this that is beneficial to the county. And if you give me 1 second, I'll pull this up. So essentially, the biggest key differences is, the decision making from the body. So the zoning hearing officer structure involves just a single decision maker. Obviously, the ZBA is an entire group. The speed versus deliberation. So a zoning hearing officer can typically make decisions more quickly due to the streamlined process, while a ZBA might be a little bit more of a longer timeline and structure just because of the group deliberation or multi-step phases. And then obviously one of the big things for us is the consistency versus the representation. So a single officer may provide more of a consistency to the decisions that are being made, where the ZBA does offer a little bit more of a diverse representation. But we feel that for our constituency and for the process, we're looking for a more efficient structure. And the ZBA moving to the zoning hearing officer would give that.
Okay, now I'm sure you mentioned that, but this would kind of speed up the process.
Correct.
Pretty much, yeah. Instead of like a 3-hour, 2-hour hearing, it could be an hour.
Well, I mean, it depends on the case because there
Yeah.
could be situations where it is still a longer hearing,
Right.
Or a multi-day hearing. But this definitely would speed up the process, make it more efficient and a little bit easier for us as well.
And the public still has the option to appear, to
Correct.
show up, make their comments, be heard.
Yes.
So all those things are still on the table for everybody too. So, okay. All right, any other questions on this? All right, is there a motion to move the hearing officer item on the agenda to the executive committee for recommendation to approve? Ally Huss first, Dean Friel seconds it. Any discussion on this?
I think it's a fantastic idea. I've spoken with DeKalb County specifically and what their history looked like in moving to a hearing officer and what the feedback from their community, the petitioners and other county board members has been, and it has been positive.
Yeah, I think it's great. Nothing against the ZBA. They've been doing a great job for
Yes,
many years.
absolutely.
And Ally, you were part of that at one time, and I know that you took that to heart when you were involved in it. And I think that we just need to go, we need to move forward on something like this. So I totally agree with this as well. Any other comments? Okay, no other comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion passed. Okay. All right, I don't see anything executive. Is there a motion to adjourn? Dean first it, Ally seconds it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion adjourned.